but what I'm curious to know is how, how did you get started? Because you have a background in wrestling before you started
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
Well, so first off, there's like a different mindset in wrestling, right? Like there's a different scoring system. So one in wrestling, you never fight off your back. You're always constantly attacking, right? So generally, you have to be like more aggressive than you would be in a jiu-jitsu match. So when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was the aggressive wrestler in the room, just always trying to, I wasn't banging heads with people, but I didn't know how to reach that. There's like a calmness when you're rolling in the room. Like it's not that serious. You don't have to worry about proving yourself because like at least in my academy, everyone there is kind of like a family. So um, well, in terms of competition, wrestlers typically come off as like egotistical or like sometimes they come off as arrogant, right?
Yeah,
And the reason is because of that mindset that wrestlers typically have is that they have this ability to flip a switch and convince themselves that they're the best in the world, which there's nothing wrong with that,
yeah.
but it's how you're able to achieve greatness in this sport, right?
If
So
anything, it's advantageous more than
yeah,
anything.
it comes off as having a high ego, right?
Absolutely.
Because you have to convince your mind that like in a competition, at least in my opinion, in a competition, if you have any doubt in your mind, then that will seep into your thoughts in a match, right? And you're like, oh, this guy is probably trains harder than me. This guy's way better than me at this sport. I should probably lose this match. And once those thoughts come into your mind, then you start losing the match. I have actually struggled with this as a wrestler. There's actually a funny story. When I was wrestling at my previous college,
Sure.
I was whooping this kid's butt. I think I scored 14 points in the first period. Well, let's back up for a second. In wrestling in college, there are 3 periods. The first period is 3 minutes. The second period is two, and
Mm,
the last period is two. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, you have one period that's typically 5 minutes. Well, it
five,
depends on.
6 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on the organization and a bunch of factors. But anyways, the first period, I was whooping this kid's butt. I beat him. I was beating him 14-0. And then towards the end of the match, he ended up coming back because I started having doubts in my own mind, and I
Oh,
ended up winning, but it was 14-13. So I can speak from experience about those thoughts creeping in your mind, having doubts. So that's something I struggled with. But I think the people that are able to achieve greatness in the sport, in wrestling or jiu-jitsu, are able to flip the switch and convince themselves they're the greatest in the world.